Welcome everybody, I am a top player in 8-bit Armies, and today we are going to be taking a look at a match between Havoc, playing as the Blue Guardians, and QuietAxis, playing as the Red Renegades. Let's get into it. So we see both players going with the standard opener. Whenever you begin a match, you always are going to be building a refinery right on the oil node. Now let's see what the players do with their starting infantry. Pretty standard stuff. Just using them to base crawl. We'll notice both players have their harvester outside their base. That's because on this map, Penguin Paradise, your starting harvester that comes out of your HQ will actually move down to the node outside your base. Typically you are going to select it and micro it over to the oil. Both players forgot to do that. We see some infantry just miss each other right here. And it looks like Axis attempts to send their infantry over to harass the enemy, but forgets to micro it and it gets killed. Let's see what they do with this guy here. Does it get away? No. Looks like Havoc kind of making the same mistake here, sending their infantry in, but forgetting to pay attention right when it arrives. And both infantries get killed. Axis going with the standard build order: refinery, barracks, motor pool, refinery, power plant. Havoc going with refinery, barracks, motor pool, refinery, power plant. So both players performing the standard build order. It looks like Havoc is a bit ahead. As you can see, their building is a little bit more done than the tech lab. So Havoc is building a little bit faster. Axis going for a fast tech. Havoc looks like they are going for a more flexible approach with more production buildings, so they will have a greater amount of lower tech units. Whereas Axis' army will be smaller, but they will be able to build tanks right off the bat. Let's see if their next unit that comes out of their motor pool is a tank. Let's see if they remember to switch their unit production. They did. Alright, tanks coming out. Havoc with, at the moment, quite a few more units, but if they can't force that advantage, then the tanks might overwhelm these lower tech units. We see Axis is microing their tanks to go for crushes, but is also getting their armored cars mixed up in it, which, for those who don't know, tanks can shoot while moving, armored cars can't. So when you go for crushes, you're going to want to specifically micro-adjust your tanks, which you can do by control-clicking them to select them all. Axis builds a turret and goes low power. I don't like that play there. Typically turrets are not very good because your opponent can just attack a different area and the turrets can't move and they cost you power and a build slot. Havoc, a very mobile army with lots of rocket cars moving around trying to take pot shots at these tanks. Both players building in opposite directions, so it doesn't look like they'll be placing buildings in each other's face anytime soon. Havoc got tech lab, so we should see flame tanks coming out very soon. Let's see. I'm still building rocket cars. It's interesting. Flame tanks are an extremely strong unit. They have an enormous amount of health. And while they don't do high damage to vehicles, they do a little bit of AoE, which can make up for it in a lot of scenarios. And they are very, very good at destroying buildings. Havoc going for a tech snipe. Let's see if they get it. It's gonna be very close. Oh, they don't. Ooh, if I'm Havoc there, I am definitely gonna lose my army, or at least part of it, trying to finish off that tech lab. And it looks like it would have worked. But they decided to save their rocket cars. Havoc going for a little bit more harass. I think this army's probably too small here. This is going to be a good fight for Axis with all these tanks losing very few units. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think a single tank died there, so that's a great fight for Axis. But Axis has kind of got their army split up. Axis does look like they have the bigger force at the moment, but because they've got maybe 30% up here, it's all dying. Havoc is doing a better job at maneuvering most of their army to attack with all of it. We see reinforcements coming. Like, Axis is trying to keep about half their army at both points of attack, which is not a bad tactic, but it does leave them open to Havoc taking their entire army and taking a good fight. Now this, I don't know if this is enough. Right now, Axis does have a solid military advantage, but the focus fire coming out of the rocket cars, this looks like a decent fight if they can keep their units alive with their engineers. That's one thing I would like to see from Axis, is more engineers. It looks like they are building them, but could be too late. As for those who don't know, a single engineer can pretty much out-heal the damage of like a single tank, and they build much faster. So in that way, engineers are very overpowered. Looks like we've got Havoc going for an HQ snipe. This doesn't look like it's gonna work. Oh. Axis retreating, though. Oh, coming back. Now let's see, this doesn't look like it's going to work, but you can see rocket cars do next to no damage to buildings. The majority of this work is being done by these two flame tanks. It's just so much damage to buildings. Axis gets everything cleaned up and goes for their own attack. Let's see, Axis does have such a advantage in terms of the numbers. They're really getting those tanks built fast. But Havoc continually fighting half of Axis's army with just about their whole army, allowing them to take really efficient fights, lose not as many units, and stay in the game. Which is kind of ironic, seeing as often in this matchup, Guardians versus Renegades, it's the other way around, where Guardians will have more units, and Renegades will use their quite often better units, but fewer of them, to take good fights. Now the money is starting to run out. We see Axis's first two nodes have completely run dry. Same goes for Havoc. Oh, Havoc got a little bit left on that one, but it's about to run out. Let's see. Now this could be a very pivotal fight if Havoc can pull a win out here, because this will let them snipe power and tech. And is this, let's see, looks like one of Axis's two air pads. That wouldn't take air off the table. Again, Havoc taking their whole army, fighting half of Axis's, taking a very good fight. Axis is going for some harass, though. And we do see the artillery is finally coming out. Havoc looks like they're going to go defend. Let's see if they get there in time. This HQ looks like it's gone. Now, what I would like to see from both of these players is this refinery's really not doing anything, and you're already hurting for money. I would go ahead and just sell these refineries that aren't on an active node. So let's see. So we got... Axis has 1 node. 2 nodes currently. Havoc has... none. So Havoc has no income at the moment. Very well could be the deciding factor. Even though Axis has, for the most part, had their army split up the whole game, a 2-node advantage when your opponent doesn't have any could just mean that half their army will be too big for Havoc to engage with their entire army. Let's see, though. Looks like Havoc's trying to consolidate their units. Potentially going for a last-ditch game-ending push, which could work. Axis army is pretty out of position. Got the artillery coming out. This artillery has an enormous range and does high damage, but has low area of effect. So they're great for killing buildings. Let's see, looks like they're after... Yep, see the building go down as soon as the artillery volley hits it. So looks like it'll be a great fight for Havoc. Let's see, this is like everything Axis has got. Did they forget? Are they not? They're building engineers. Are they building ground units at the moment? I'm not sure they are. This looks like game. It's like Axis, despite having more money, appears to have forgot to build tanks, and they call GG. Alright, well that will conclude this very close and hopefully instructive match. I'll see you in the next one.